In the meantime, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson getting the cold shoulder by Russia as a new Cold War might be heating up. The Kremlin today announcing plans for Tillerson to meet with Vladimir Putin when he visits Moscow on Wednesday are, quote, not on Putin's schedule. Yeah, that's what they said. He's not on the calendar. Sorry. Rex Tillerson, not on our calendar. This as Russian warships have entered waters outside Syria in response to U.S. airstrikes on a Syrian airfield used to launch that deadly chemical gas attack on civilians last week. Joining us now to tell us what he's expecting next from this conflict between the West, Russia, and its former allies, Syria, is former U.S. Ambassador to Syria, Edward Djerejian. And Ambassador, you were also the former ambassador to Israel. So Israel's closed its borders with Egypt. This is a hotspot region. What do you make, first, of Putin's people announcing that there's no scheduled plan for Rex Tillerson to meet with Putin when the Americans certainly believe there is?
Well, that may be a political vanity play on the part of the Russians and Putin to show their real unhappiness with President Trump's decision to strike at the Syrian airfield after the Syrians used chemical weapons on their own people yet another time. I think that the U.S. administration's decision to do that surgical focus strike was the right move to make. It signaled Russia, it signaled Iran, it signaled Hezbollah, all those entities that are supporting Bashar al-Assad's regime, that the U.S. policy of strategic restraint has its limits, and chemical weapons and weapons of mass destruction are one of the limits. That's also a signal to North Korea. So I think the Russians are a bit taken aback by this very decisive move on the part of President Trump.
Well, good.
And I think it's a mistake, frankly, if they don't meet with the Secretary of State of the United States. There are so many issues, including Syria, North Korea, the hacking issue, Ukraine.
I mean, it goes on and on. But let me just say that over the weekend, the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley, flat out used the term regime change as it pertains to Bashar al-Assad. Listen, the Russians have right away said, no way, that's not happening. You know, will that bear any fruit? I mean, what is our plan there? Is it to remove Assad?
Well, I think we have to step back and look at President Trump's positions on this issue. During the campaign, he made it very clear that if he became president, he would not get involved in nation building as we did in Afghanistan and Iraq. So I think you have to put it in that context, that we're not going to get involved in nation building. We're going to take military actions, as we've seen on chemicals, use of weapons of mass destruction and perhaps other measures, but we're not going to get involved in Syria like we did in Iraq and Afghanistan. So in that context, I think regime change, which is debated, is the administration for or against regime change? I think they all see regime change as the end of a political transition process. By that I mean that Bashar al-Assad will probably not be left standing at the end of a political transition.
It's a loaded term, though.